Hello everyone. So today I want to talk with you about alternative marketing, and I'm going to be throwing you a lot of concepts today about different methods that there is to do marketing. And the focus of this lecture is actually on online marketing, but I will give also some things that work quite well in offline marketing, and therefore I want to talk about that. First thing is, let's see what kind of alternative forms do we have for online alternative marketing. So there's many different forms that alternative marketing can take. We have buzz marketing, guerrilla marketing, lifestyle marketing, experiential marketing, product placement, branded entertainment, a couple of others. And I will explain them to you in a succession, one by one. So before we get into that, what is required for alternative marketing to work well? Number one, requires a lot of creativity and imagination. Number two, it also requires that you identify paths that intersect with other marketing paths. In other words, your whole marketing communication must have one direction. Therefore, what you do in terms of alternative marketing must match what the other strategies that you have in the company are doing. So, for example, you cannot have two colliding messages. One marketing message saying that you have high quality, another marketing message saying you have, for example, low prices. Typically, those two collide with each other, and therefore I don't advise to do that. Now, the objective here is to generate a couple of different things: is to generate a buzz, to generate something that people will talk about, to generate word of mouth, and therefore they will tell their friends, their colleagues, and to generate what we call a lifestyle message. In other words, to show that this is more than just a traditional brand. This is a brand that is a lifestyle that can be associated with who you are. So let's start with buzz marketing. Buzz marketing, okay, is basically trying to generate word of mouth, because word of mouth has more credibility. Word of mouth is when people talk about brands that they like, maybe that restaurant that you like and you talk to your friends, maybe a product that you like and you tell your family as well to use it. This is word of mouth. So word of mouth is a very fast growing business. Obviously, when it comes to marketing, it's something that has been going on for thousands of years, obviously, but the objective of a company trying to create word of mouth is something relatively recent when it comes to marketing. So it's one of the most powerful methods that you have, because what you try to do a lot of times, it's more powerful than paid endorsements, for example, by celebrities, because we perceive this kind of word of mouth to be more genuine. So what type of approaches do we have in terms of buzz marketing? Well, you have three main categories: individuals that really like your brand, individuals that your brand sponsors, and the company or agency employees that you have. Now let's talk about each one of them more specifically. Consumers that like the brand, this is the most powerful type of ambassador that you can have, because indeed they are genuine, they really like your brand, and they will tell their friends that they like. So this brand will spread in person, obviously, when they talk with their friends, but also will spread through the internet, on social medias, on vlogs, on message boards, and so on. So these people tend to be very passionate about the product that you sell. But so the objective here is try to identify who are these people, and then try to target them by saying like, how can I help you to maybe give them special benefits or special perks that really make them talk even more about your brand to their friends or to their colleagues. So second category we have is sponsored consumers. We see this a lot on YouTube. People that are paid by brands to review their products, for example. So typically this is individuals who already like the brand or have some familiarity with the type of brand that it is. And the selection here should be devoted should be based on two things. Number one, what is the size of their influence? Okay, so their social circle, and what is their devotion to the brand? Do they talk about your brand typically, and have they maybe created content online about your brand? Was it positive? Was it negative? And so on. Here, when we pay them, we are expected that they will deliver a message, and typically that message might have to be a little bit carved as well in partnership with the company. But here, the most important thing is to be very honest about the relationship, and this is something that many influencers online make the mistake of, which is they, for example, don't mention that the product they're reviewing is sponsored, and when it's found out, they lose all the credibility. So this is something to think about. In terms of another great way to try to target or to pay for these influencers, I'd say, is the concept as well as of house parties. Now, this is for some products, this works very well, which basically is, you know, people invite their friends home, they showcase a product, and basically it shows the qualities of that product. This does not mean that the person organizing the party will make a commission. Sometimes it's just the point of meeting. A brand that did this very well was Nestle Purina. You can find it online how they organize house parties, but they were targeting some very specific type of people that have pets, that love their pets, that have incomes higher than $60,000 a year, and that like to pamper their pets. And therefore, check online, do a little bit of research on this. It's an amazing case study about how they actually use house parties as a marketing strategy. The last one we have in terms of this component is company employees. Now, sometimes companies put employees posing as customers, and I really disagree with this, because this is a very high risk approach, and if it's discovered, basically what happens is you lose all the credibility and the backlash can be huge. So according to the Word of Mouth Marketing Association, which is a real association, okay, if you're going to use your employees to do marketing for you, then you should be honest about the relationship that you have with the employee. You should be honest about the opinion they have and the identity as well of who they are. And this is important to make sure that people that see, they understand immediately that this is an employee from the customer, not just a normal customer. Sorry, this is an employee from the company, not just a normal customer. Now, typically, buzz marketing goes through a couple of stages, and we have inoculation, incubation, and infection. I know that with the recent coronavirus outbreak, these words might be a little bit scary, but it's a little bit similar to that. Typically, what happens is inoculation stage is the hardest. This is where you try to find the people around, some of the people that are willing to start talking about your brand, and this might have to be through paid sponsorships, for example, might have to be with finding these golden customers that we were talking about. And here what we need to do is to use these brand ambassadors to start the process. But many processes of buzz marketing die at this stage because there's not enough effort. So true customer generated buzz is what you want, but then that only occurs after the awareness, after, let's say, the incubation. And incubation here is the point of awareness. People are more and more aware about your brand is, and the infection is the part where they start also talking about your product. Okay, so this only happens for the marketing campaign to be successful. Then people must talk about to their friends or their colleagues about what your product is. And awareness normally is still generated through traditional marketing, but then people go online to spread the news or to talk about that product. And there's many communities online who like to talk about specific products, and we'll talk about that specifically a little bit later. So in terms of for you to start buzz marketing, what is needed? Well, first of all, your product, or you need to have something, okay, not necessarily the product, maybe it's the message, but there needs to be something that is either unique, new, or better performing. So we need something here that really distincts yourself from your competition. So in other words, your brand really needs to stand out. And when you design the way that you're gonna the advertisement that you're going to use, for example, then you have to find it in a way that is memorable, in a way that is intriguing, different, and unique. Okay, and it's very important that for you to understand this, it's a great way for you to generate a marketing or a spot is that your customer is involved with the brand. Okay, so that your customer dictates as well what is done within the brand. The next topic is stealth marketing. Now, stealth marketing is a little bit different because it's much more or less obvious. Buzz marketing is very obvious that is marketing, but this one not so much. So stealth marketing is about what we call suspicious practices. You try to do marketing in a way that does not look like marketing. And this works very well in the online world. There's many online advertisements, for example, that never go on TV because, well, they cannot go on TV for legal reasons, or because they are a type of humor that maybe on TV would not react so well. So here, stealth marketing is really when we try to do marketing in a way that it's not obvious. Now here, there's always the ethical debate. Is this something that is smart to do, or do you believe this is something that is dishonest? Okay, because if you're not being honest, or if you're trying to hide the fact that you're doing marketing, couldn't we consider that dishonesty in a way? Well, I think that not. I think that like stealth marketing means that you are really creative in the way that you do marketing, and therefore you make it maybe more humorous or more entertaining, but you make it in a way that does not seem directly like you're trying to sell your product. And I think I'm fine with that, as long as it's not lying on the information that you provide. Guerrilla marketing is the other one. Now, guerrilla marketing comes from the guerrilla war practices. And guerrilla war practices means that a guerrilla warfare means that you have a small army that basically attacks a unit or attacks a location very quick, does a lot of damage, and immediately retreats. And they repeat this process. And guerrilla marketing is a little bit like that. Okay, so this was developed by J. Conrad Levinson, and it showed instant results and a unique low-cost approach, because guerrilla marketing can be really low cost to do. And there's many examples online, from flash mobs, for example, to for example, on specific locations, all of a sudden a big event is launched. So, but what is the problem with this kind of marketing? It only works on a local or on a region. You cannot do a national guerrilla marketing campaign. So here also involves the interaction with the customer, and that means the customer will be part of this. And therefore, without the customer, you cannot have guerrilla marketing. This creates huge amounts of excitement. People start sharing stuff on Facebook, on Instagram, and the goal here is really to generate this buzz, but in a way that really only holds with a local event. And therefore, this is an alternative type of media that I recommend if your brand is something that can be exciting or can be unique. Guerrilla marketing, reasons for using. Well, basically, main reasons: to find a new way to interact with the customer, to find ways to also communicate with them, obviously, to make the advertisement accessible to the customer in the way that now they belong to the advertisement itself, sometimes not by choice, and therefore that can be a risk. Also, you can impact a lot of spot market, which means that people might be so amazed by what the event that you did that they get curious about the brand, and these can be new customers that come in. Also, you generate buzz because people share and talk about it, and also to build a relationship with the consumers. I will leave some links on the comment section below about some examples of buzz marketing and what people have done. So the next one is lifestyle marketing. Now, lifestyle marketing is about it's about targeting people through their lifestyle. Now, for example, many people like sports, many people like, for example, to go out to watch live music, people that like, for example, video games. So here what we try to do is to target people based on their hobbies, on their entertainment. And here we try to target the consumers when they are going to relax, or we're trying to make them where they go to get excited, or where they go to socialize, or where they go to have fun. And we try to target them according to the lifestyle that there is. But for this one to work, you really have to understand who is your customer, who is the person that you're trying to target, and then try to understand what do these people do on their free time. I find that building a persona for it is a very good manner, is a very good way to try to understand your customer and understand what is the type of things that they do on their free time and what would be the best times to target. Experiential marketing, on the other way, is not about doing experiments on your consumer, but rather it's about giving them an experience. So here there are three components to experiential marketing. There is direct marketing, there is field marketing, and there is sales promotion. Direct marketing is through the interaction that we create, so with the interaction with the customer itself, because he's going to be interacting with your brand. Field marketing, on the other hand, is what you do on the field, what you do, for example, on the store. And sales promotion means that it's not just about experience the brand or the product, but also about giving them an extra reason why they should take care of, why they should get this opportunity right now. And this can be very engaging to the consumers. Something experiential marketing can be very simple, like example, when you see people giving food samples, this is experiential marketing because they're helping people to experience the food. The steps to create a good process here as 3 steps. Make your process clear and concise in terms of the target market. Don't try to target everyone, but try to target people that really would like to engage with your brand. So identify as well what is the right time and the right place, because this will engage more logically and more emotionally the people. And finally, clearly reveal what is your brand promise. Show what your brand is about. So for example, don't try to show an experience that is much above what your brand or what your product can actually deliver. Then the other category we have is product placement and branded entertainment. This is something that has been growing a lot in the past couple of years. There's many examples of brands that have been placed on movies, for example, like Castaway or the Terminator. And all this is just designed to make the impression of people without them realizing that it is advertisement. So it's a little bit, like I said before, it's a little bit like stealth marketing in a way. Now, in terms of product placement, there's many brands that do it. The top brand nowadays, the best data I could find was for almost 10 years ago, unfortunately, for 2011. But you still see that Coca-Cola nowadays is still one of the highest product placement brands in the world. This type of technique started in the 80s. One of the very first movies to do product placement was actually the movie E.T. And what we discovered is that actually the cost to target people with this technique is very low when compared to the amount of people that you reach. But the problem is typically what we see for this kind of products is more mass. It only works for big companies, for companies that target the entire country or have thousands or millions of different consumers, because otherwise it's not really worth it. Product placements, notice what we discover is that people feel more emotionally engaged with brands they see on their favorite TV shows, and 43% of people recognize the brands better after seeing them on TV shows, for example. Brand recognition increases by 29% in highly enjoyed programs, and positive brand feeling increases by 85% for brands in popular programs. Here I gave an example of Apple doing product placement on the TV show Modern Family, and Coca-Cola doing on Breaking Bad. Now, branded entertainment is a little bit different. This is when the brand is woven into the whole storyline of the process. And I think one of the best ones that we've seen is the example of Lego movies, because Lego movies is woven around the concept of what the product is, what the brand is. And once again, this is something that is very interesting, but it really only works for very large brands and brands that have the power to engage with the consumer. In terms of product placement and brands, key factors here is, well, be careful with the media that you select. Make sure that it's not just product placement, but then you have other alternative marketing that goes along with it. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. Consumer attitudes through the placement should be measured. Should be very careful considering when should the product placement be done and when it should not be done. Because sometimes you might put a product placement in a situation that actually is going to give a negative image. And finally, always the regulations and the laws, because there's many things that you cannot put as product placement on TV. Now, companies have used many tactics to increase spending on this, and they realize there's many advantages. It's much more engaging with the consumer. Consumers provide better post-purchase resonance. They also remember your brand more. So companies have been really investing much more in this type of advertising. Now, other alternative medias I would like to talk with you. Well, number one, there's many ones that we could talk, but I'm not going to talk about them. Video games, cinemas, subways, street and mall kiosks, escalators, parking lots, airlines, shopping bags, clothes. There's so many different examples of alternative media. So I'm just decided to cover what I believe are the most important ones. One of the first ones is video game advertisement. There's $7 billion per year are spent on in-game ads, and you probably see them all the time. They're really annoying. But the reality is this is still a very attractive marketing. 75% of online households spend at least 1 hour per month playing online games. This is data for the US, because for Europe it's very hard to collect this. 27% on average spend 30 hours or more per month playing video games. This is the primary market if you're targeting people between the age of 16 to 34-year-old male, and it's the fastest growing market as well for females. And this is very interesting because what we see is that actually Although advertisement in games are very annoying, I just think that some of them are quite good, but we have not found yet the perfect way to do marketing in video games. Um, Now, there's different types of ads you can do or different ways that you can do to actually put your advertisement or your brand on a video game. In-game advertisements, rotating advertisements, interactive ads, game-related websites, advertise games, which is advert games is when you have a little game but actually an advertisement for you to try the game before you download, sponsored downloads, mobile game apps. You see, all this to some degree is working, but it has not yet found that way where we say that this is a good way of doing advertisement in games. And this is why doing advertisement in games is so cheap, because technically our attention span for this kind of ads is really low. In terms of video game advertisement, there's a couple of benefits that I would like to point out just to make more clear. The game is just as enjoyable with ads. We don't see that people say that they dislike the game because of ads. No, they enjoy it as much. Actually, more brand recall is done. We increase brand recall when you see advertisement on games, and typically, if it's done well, you can create a very positive brand association, depending on the game you decide to advertise on. So there's many new technologies nowadays that we've seen. I don't know, in the future, nowadays we can already see advertisement with augmented reality, for example. We can see advertisement with VR as well. And I think in the future, we're going to see some more interactive and some more creative things to be done when it comes to video game advertising. Now, just in terms of female advertisement, a couple of things I'd like to mention. Number one is the fact that there's around 130 million female video gamers in the world. They constitute around 40% of all gamers. There's many organizations, for example, about this, but there's one clear need, is that most advertisements nowadays are still, most games nowadays are still designed by men, and there's really a lack of female designers for games, and this is a shame, because I think like nowadays we still have many games that are developed towards the male side of consumers, and therefore we need I think there's a lot of opportunity still on this industry. Now, what we also notice is that females typically they tend to like games that are more handheld games, in other words, games for tablet or mobile devices, and typically they enjoy more, on average, social oriented games where there is some level of interaction with other people. Now, another way to actually do advertisement is cinema. I think that we all been to the cinema and you all seen this advertisement. These ads prior to the movies typically they captive audience quite well, because they are, well, you kind of focus on the screen. But alternative marketing here is when you gauge not just do the ads on the cinema, let's say, but also have an offline component. And a great example of someone that did this was the PhotoSmart Premium Printer by HP. They did an amazing campaign where there was ad on the cinema, but then there was also demonstrations on the lobbies, and people really engaged with the brand, and they really enjoyed what the experience was of right now and there, try to see or try to engage with this new product, which was completely different when just going to the cinema and watching a normal ad. So then other alternative methods we say, like we have subway, public facilities, parking lots, stairs, escalators, airlines, facial recognition for digital displays. There's nowadays, we've seen many examples, and if you go online, you'll find hundreds of examples on this. And this is good, but most of these things, like I said, they only work on a local basis. They don't work so well on a, let's say, on a national scale. So the last thing I want to cover with you is about in-store marketing. This is something that it really has a great impact on purchasing decisions. 60% of purchase decisions are made in store. And as you can see on these two graphs, what we see is that the in-store marketing really affects as well the way the purchases that you make. When I say in-store, I mean here offline and online, obviously. But your advertisement has to work in a way, or your communication with your customer has to work in a way as well, that it's not just the ads that you do, but it's also how you display your store, because that is the spot where people make the most decision about buying or not buying your product. So in-store can be the make or break time here, and it can be a great way to engage with your consumers. Okay, you can have many different displays. There's companies specialized on this, but the point is always to also try to provide an experience inside the store. So there's many tactics in terms of points of purchase here, and I think the important part here to talk about is to increase the sales of your product. Remember, just a couple of statistics here. 60% of decisions about purchasing are made in store. 50% of money that is spent on groceries or on merchandising and supermarkets is unplanned. In other words, you spend this money without priorly thinking that you would buy this kind of stuff. 50% of Coca-Cola's products are sold because of the display of their product. 50%. Now, this is an extremely interesting number because it shows that, you know, people buy more if the product is displayed as well in a nice way. So for that, we need to have effective point of purchase displays, and that has many characteristics we to talk. But at the end is about organization, attractiveness, and making it easy for the consumer to actually see and understand what your product is. So the last thing I want to talk is just very quickly branded communities. And branded communities is when we have online communities that talk about your product. Now, this increases brand loyalty a lot, brand devotion, and interactions between brands and consumers. And here, what we're going to have is that there's going to be two main things here. There's going to be shared values and experiences on these communities, which means that all these people talk about your brand because they really enjoy, or on the other hand, can also be because they hate. And this can be a great opportunity to learn why they don't like the product. Okay, but branded communities are a great way to understand who your customer is and why they like or they don't like your product. So in order to enhance this, my suggestion is you should search for these communities and try to give them with special events or special benefits to build a stronger relationship with them, because they can be the starting point of your buzz campaign. They can be the ones that help you with the inoculation phase. And online you can pretty much find communities about everything. So to summarize, I hope that you enjoyed this video. We covered many different types of alternative marketing. I don't know which one was your favorite. If you have any good examples of alternative marketing or video, just leave it on the comment section below. I always enjoy to see different ways of doing alternative marketing. And if you have any questions about alternative marketing, or if you just want to drop a quick question on the comment section below, just leave it and I will try to come back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you next video.